Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Alero Edu and this is Sunrise.
Good morning, I'm Neota Igbe. The first edition of the program in Nigeria's 60th year of existence as a nation. Thank you for joining us. We do hope you had a fantastic independence celebration. Now, don't go there, don't go there, don't go there. Don't go there. I know someone was saying, what do you mean by fantastic? Don't go there.
Okay. Nigeria is 60 years old. Yes, we're alive, and we're still one country, in spite of all the shenanigans going on.
Fantastic. Because guess what? I read and I saw a video, several. I read about a man who became a doctor at 60. But then let me tell you the story of this woman who...
someone became president at over 70?
I don't want to go at the president because I might say he was elected. But I'd like to talk about someone who in her old age
determined to do something.
That I will be. And she became a doctor, medical doctor, with her last daughter. She could not go to school because she was taking care of the children. Her husband died when she was quite young. So she trained them as the first. She had 4 children. The first went, the second went, and all of them to doctorate. What was she doing? She was doing petty business. But she was putting aside monies to train these. And fortunately for her, the children were also industrious. They will come back from school, they will support their mom, and they are working. So when the last one finished secondary school, as she was writing the final exam in secondary school, the woman also wrote external GC, as we call it. She entered the university, 2 different universities. Now, at this point in time, her first 2 children were working. So they were now supporting them. So she entered the university, I think it was in her late 40s. She finished the university, immediately went for her master's. She finished her master's, immediately went for her doctorate.
Wow.
So at 58,
inspiration.
She became a doctor. What am I saying?
But I could have seen myself studying at 58, having to do what they call awoko, staying up all night to read and all that.
I know, the thing is, for her,
if you're determined.
For her, it was about, I want to do this.
Full stop.
I had wanted to go to school, but I couldn't because of circumstances I found myself in.
Yes.
But now that I have the opportunity, I will do this. So it's not enough to say things are south. Would you let them stay south? You could decide
that... You can do things that'll...
You could just one... my wife sent me a message yesterday about something being enormous. It was a small project that someone said she should handle. So she was like... I was like, great! So she was like, it's a small project. I say, yes. But you see, we always say that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So take the step. And as you take the step, someone says, okay, she's going on a journey. And then let me go with her. Let me support.
Indeed.
But if you don't move, who knows what you're doing?
Yeah.
So Nigeria is in progress.
Yes. So Nigeria is 60 years old. How old are you and what are you doing with yourself? Nigeria is not okay. Nigeria is not okay. Whose fault is it? We are the Nigerians.
No. It's government. That's what we always do. It's government.
Okay. Coming here this morning at the traffic light, some guy ran the red lights. Is that the government?
That's his government.
Oh, okay. That's government.
That is government.
We don't see these little things as part of our lives as Nigerians. There's a 3-lane road and there's traffic. And before you turn around, there's 6 lanes.
7. And it's government.
It's government. What are you doing in your little corner to make Nigeria a better place? Don't leave it all to government. After all, who is government? You are government. I am government. We are government.
That's true.
What is true?
We are government.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I know. It's our government. No, it's just that sometimes I say, it's the politicians. It's the government.
I didn't say politicians. I said government.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I take it back. It's not the politician, or is it the politicians?
Government.
Whichever way you want to look at it.
Government.
Because at the end of the day, it's...
Government.
But Alero,
It's us, it's us, it's us. We, the people, need to do our own bit so that this country will come out of this, well, I have some choice words I could use for where we are right now, but I'm not going to dare use any of them on national television.
Alero, as we say, Nigeria is a diamond in the rough. There's still some polishing to do.
Okay.
And every one of us can weigh in and polish this country to what we want it to be. But the choice.
But that is so true, because Nigeria is so blessed. And we should all 200 of us should be embarrassed and ashamed of ourselves that we are where we are now with everything that God has given us. So many countries are envious of Nigeria. Why did God give them so much? And what are we doing with all of it?
We're doing plenty, Alero. Plenty. I can bet you we are.
Okay,
We'll soon begin to see
we're
it.
going to start by looking at Nigeria at 60, diamond in the rough, indeed.
Then 10 years to end poverty. You heard the president say that 10 years. Would it be a government thing? Or all of us? Us. Okay, us, yeah.
And we're having a special appearance by the Minister of the Environment.
Then we will focus on national symbols.
After all, it was Independence Day 2 days ago.
Exactly.
And then we shall close with the Artist of the Week segment, and we'll bring you somebody who knows how to dance.
No,
Let me put it that way.
I'd rather say everybody get your dancing shoes on, because I think he's going to want to get everybody dancing by the time he's done.
Oh, okay. All right.
And he's a he.
Do you have your dancing shoes on?
Well, I can actually rock with these ones.
Great.
Don't worry. But
Great.
I'm not sure yours could fly.
Well, I ain't doing no rocking.
Okay, we'll take a moment and we'll be back. Do not go anywhere. Our Twitter handles will be on the screen. Let's look at how we all can be better. Don't go away. Bye-bye.
We believe in
Nigeria
and the promise she holds.
Yes.
That's where we should all be at. I've said my piece.
No, you've not finished your piece. You'll still say more. Okay, so today, on Thursday, Nigeria celebrated its 60 years of independence in a low-key celebration. The Diamond Anniversary celebration brings no excitement amongst some Nigerians. They're not happy with the condition of the economy, infrastructure, and polity. The question is, can hope still be kept alive after 6 decades of independence? Question mark. We'll see how we can walk through this. So to help us look at this, we have here in Lagos, we have Mr. Bisi Akonde, Executive and Leadership Coach. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
And from our Abuja studio, we have Taufik Babaiju, who's a management consultant. And Mr. Ahmad Sajo.
Good morning.
Mr. Ahmad Sajo is Executive Director of Future Now Initiative. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Incidentally, it looks like we have almost all the age brackets covered here. We have the
Exactly.
future, we have the present, and we have Mr. Sajo, who is a little bit more advanced in age, or appears more advanced in age. So let's start with you, Mr. Sajo. Nigeria at 60. You heard the commentary from the different quarters. You've seen some reactions. What would you say about 6 years of Nigeria?
60.
Well, thank you very much. I think we have, there are 3 things we should look at. First, we have the potentials. Nigeria is still a very, very potentially great country. There's no doubt about that. And we've not harnessed our potentials very well, but we still have the potentials. Secondly, we have grown, in terms of population. We have grown in terms of fiscal infrastructure, where there were bushes, we now have cities. Where we had narrow roads, we now have big roads. And despite some setbacks, yes, we have made some progress. But where we have challenges, the fact that we've lost our moral compass. And so everything we're talking about revolves around the fact that we have lost our moral compass. All the talk about we being very religious pales in the face of the fact that the real God we worship in Nigeria is the God of wealth, money. And so that has set us back a lot. And we have not actually constructed for ourselves a system that serves everybody. The social gap is growing widely every day. Nigerian people are very resilient, but gradually people are beginning to become very despondent about the future of the country, despite the fact that when it comes to resilience, when it comes to withstanding hardships, Nigerians are in the forefront. Anyway, you can give it to them. So I believe that, in a nutshell, what I can say is, well, we have grown in the hardware, but the software, the human element, the human component, it's still very missing. You just spoke about a woman who, at 60, became a PhD holder. That is the Nigerian spirit, the can-do spirit. But at the end of it, certain elements that should have made our education functional, our governance effective, some things that could have pricked our conscience to bridge some of the social gap that we're seeing, the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, and then these things must be addressed. For a brighter future, Nigerians must accept that, look, we need to reconfigure the way we relate with ourselves, the way we relate with the system, the way just like you said, people just keep blaming government for everything. Yes, the reason is simple. I started life in a very humble way. I was one time a cattle herder, and I know that even cattle, when you see cattle going, there is a big bull in front. No any other cow or cattle would go ahead of that bull. So this, at the center of whatever we're doing, is leadership. Somebody must say, look, I'm going to do it this way, and that this is the way it should be done. Until the day we have our leaders obey traffic light, we have our leaders follow the lanes that they're supposed to follow without blaring siren and knocking us to the side, we will not understand that there is a need for us to have order on our roads.
Okay, Mr. Sajo.
And it goes on and on and on and on.
Mr. Sajo, just hold your horses. We're still on here. Let's see if we can bring in Taofiq and Mr. Akande real quick before we go on a break in the next 3 minutes. So let me read this tweet that came in, and Taofiq and Mr. Akande, please, you weigh in 1 minute each. Dr. K, whose byline says, from the token and the small is a profound. I like that. But he says, let's stop this narrative about Nigerians being responsible for the rot. It's government's responsibility to formulate and enforce policies. Are the people responsible for looting, nepotism, repression, and lack of direction of government? That's a question Dr. K is asking. Taofiq, I'm not hearing that conversation. Nigerians believe that. Don't tell us it's us. It's the government thing, it's your authorities thing. But having heard from Mr. Sajo, Nigeria is a potentially awesome. The potentials are still there. What you say in 1 minute, according to go on a quick break.
So for over 40 years, I've heard about this Nigeria being a potentially great country. And it's very interesting that the theme for this year's independence is very, very apt, diamond in the rough. We need to just understand what that means. Interesting how diamond are even are formed. Okay, diamonds are formed below the hard crust, with a very strong temperature and pressure, which crystallizes the carbon to become that crystal, to become that rough diamond. But it takes a lot of polishing, understanding that this rough diamond needs to go through a process that refines it to make it attractive. I've heard that Nigeria has potential for over 40 years that have grown. Okay, so for how long are we going to be in the potential state? Like Mr. Sajo rightly said, this nation needs some right amount of leadership, which is driven by purpose. And it is very interesting to know that where purpose is not defined, abuse is very, very inevitable, okay? And for us as a nation to get from potential to kinetics and get to where we need to get to as a nation, there has to be an overarching vision driven by strategic, intent. For every Nigerian, I ask you today, what is the Nigerian dream? I've been here for over 40 years. I don't know what the Nigerian dream is, but we still believe in Nigeria. We know Nigeria needs to be great. I'm a physicist. My background is physics, apart from being a management consultant. And I know that the first law of physics states that a matter will be in a motion, at state of inertia, until an external force, acts on it for it to move faster, and to get its potential. So for us to move as a nation, we need to exert that force. And it comes from not just leadership. Okay, leadership has a role to play, but what are we doing as followers? Okay, what alternative agenda have we set as followers until we start holding leadership responsible, until we start stopping asking, or we stop
asking. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you now. We have to take a break at this moment. See you after this break. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, before we went on that break, we listened to Taufik, who was talking to us from Abuja, and Neota had read out a tweet, and he wanted him to weigh in to comment about that tweet, and he had promised to take that same tweet to Mr. Akonde, who's with us in the studio. Dr. K was saying he didn't think that we were the problem. Are the people the cause of the looting and the nepotism and the repression and the lack of direction of government?
Well, yes and no. I agree with him on one side. On the other side, I would disagree with him. Yes, of course, leadership needs to provide direction. We need to know where we are going. Very correct. But the question has always been, where did the leadership come from? From us. I'm going to be 50 soon. My brother is 40. Now, I don't even know the Nigerian dream also, just like he said. I don't know what we are about. Then I've always heard that our problem is leadership. By the time the present leaders were not leaders, they said our problem was leadership. So where did we come from? Now they are leaders, and we are now saying our problem is leadership. The question is, who is going to solve that problem? Who is going to be at the base to do those things? So I agree with him on the sense that government should provide leadership, provide direction, but again, we the people have a role to play in doing those things. Now, we need people who will be able to, and I think the older speaker said something that was very, very profound, and that is our moral values. We really, as a people, have lost our moral values, and that needs to be checked and looked at. What are the values that should drive the people that are called Nigerians? So that we can now together move. Because if we don't have the same values, honestly, we won't be able to achieve the thing that we want to achieve. So we need that value back to the street. He pointed out something. If we keep breaking the rules, if we keep doing things, if we keep celebrating corruption, because the truth is that we fight corruption on one hand, we celebrate it on the other hand. Because if somebody has good money, whether from corrupt system or not, people celebrate it. And if you celebrate that, of course, it tells the younger person that this is celebrated, so what do? Join the queue. So we've got to look at those two sides of it. It is both the people need to also begin to take initiative to make things happen. Like what you are doing here now might look to someone, but you're adding some value, you're making some change, you are changing somebody's mindset somewhere to do the right thing.
Let me take... Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Sajo, you spoke about this country's potential, which Taufik said he's been hearing about since he was a little boy. And the president's message also was a message of hope. Some people are saying that every year, whoever is in power comes and gives us a message of hope. Are you not do you not think that they're pushing Nigerians too far, asking them every year to hope and hope and hope, and yet every year their lot seems to be getting worse?
Yeah, I agree with you absolutely. You see, the thing is that we're like I said at the beginning, we're very resilient. And I think even leadership is taking that resilience for granted. People believe that Nigerians can take anything. But, and our focus, for example, should be on the young people. Our young people today are in deep difficulty because they've never lived under a Nigeria that is a bit sane. I am the oldest person on this discussion, and I will tell you that from my engagement with people who worked, for example, in the Premier's office in northern Nigeria, Amadu Bello, when the northern region had 3 private jets, whenever he flew on a private trip with any of the jets, he pays from his pocket. You know, this was where we were. You know, we had a leadership. When the late Obafemi Awolowo declared free education for Western Nigeria, he had a vision for this country. So there was a time when things were done the way that they could impact positively on the people. And so that at that time, when you say there was hope, people had hope. But what is happening today is that we just receive messages of hope. But we ourselves, what are we doing? I keep telling young people when they come to me, look, young people, they tell you that you are the leaders of tomorrow. But don't you know that today was the tomorrow you were talking about yesterday? When is that tomorrow going to come? So we need to begin to sit down together as a people and begin to construct, you know, systems that can work for everybody. And we have the potentials. Nothing has changed in Nigeria. Our potentials are very high, you know. And we are also spared by God Almighty of the disaster that we see in other places. No earthquakes, no tsunamis, no typhoons, no hurricanes. We are a nation that God has blessed so immensely. I keep asking people, you know, our environment is so friendly that I come from Adamawa State, and Adamawa State is cocoa producing state. So you can imagine you can produce certain crops across the country and use it to make leverage on it to make progress. But are we doing that? We are not. So we have the potentials. Yes, we do. But we're not harnessing the potentials. And it's the harnessing of the potential that should matter to us. And it's also, you know, part of our potentials is that we have a very vibrant and very, you know, resourceful young population. But we're not harnessing that population. We're not harnessing it for progress. We're not harnessing it for development. We're not harnessing it to make sure that it serves, you know, the greater interest of this country. So I'm calling on young people, and this is directed at young people. Young people must rise up, begin to hold leadership, hold those of us that are accountable for why Nigeria came to where it is. And they should start constructing a future for themselves. We shouldn't wait for those of us in the older generation to construct a future for you. Your future is in your hands. Let's begin to talk from the narratives that are on the streets. What are the things that we expect of our leaders? What are like my brother here said, what is the Nigerian dream? If you don't know the Nigerian dream, shove yourself to one side and allow us construct a dream for ourselves. We do not even have an aspiration. We do not even understand where we're heading to. So we need to do that. We need to mobilize our young people, tell our young people that this is the direction that you should push Nigeria to, and you should be in the forefront. Never allow this fallacy that you are leaders of tomorrow. The tomorrow is today. The very people that are telling you are leaders of tomorrow were leaders in this country at the age of 20s, at their mid-20s, early 20s. By 32, Gawan was the head of state of this country. But today you are told to sit, to lie down on the sofa in your father's parlor and start dreaming of being the leader of tomorrow at 30, at even beyond 30. And I think that is unacceptable. We must begin to engage our young people to understand that this country belongs to all of us, belongs to them, and the future we're talking about is their own future. So they must be involved. We must construct a system that is anchored on social justice, a system that is anchored on equity, a system that is anchored on, the fine tenets of understanding that Nigeria belongs to all of us. We need to bridge the social gap between the haves and the have-nots. We must create opportunities for everybody to have the maximum that he can get. We should stop this system that we now have where we have hegemonies, that only the children of the top civil servants go into the civil service, only the children of the top service military people go into military service, only the children of the connected people within the business, the organized private sector go into private sector. I mean, by the time we begin to build these hegemonies and we keep people out of...
Mr. Sajo, you're really, it's very obvious you're very passionate about this and the future. But let's bring in Taufik. Taufik, there are a lot of comments that are coming in here, some of them quite angry. One of them, if I could summarize a couple of them, is again tied to that matter of don't blame the government. Yes, we agree that it's a leadership thing. But when it comes to enforcement of some of these government-formulated policies, the question is, do we have to wait for the authorities to enforce? I like what Mr. Sajo said. Hold leadership accountable. Now, so you're in a traffic situation, and everybody, it's a red light, and everybody looks, they are moving. They're not stopping by the red light. Do you follow them? Or would you be the one to set the example and stay? Even when there are blaring horns behind you, or you're in a 2-lane road where they have formed 4 lanes, can you help to merge that without anybody shaking you? Would you join the bandwagon because you can't beat them? Or would you take a stand? Someone says, there is no way society will move forward above the moral grounds of, or the aggregate moral grounds of the citizenry. The aggregate moral grounds of the citizenry, especially because leadership comes from the society. Before you ended, you said, what is your dream? What is your plan to bring about leadership where you are? What do you think? Can it be done?
Well, thank you very much, Nelta. Let me take it from where the last 2 speakers, Mr. Sajo here. Interestingly, I was in your Adamawa Yola for the first time this year, and I saw a very beautiful state. The floodplain, it reminds me of a city called Arizona, in Louisiana. And, a lot can be done from Adamawa. And I looked at that environment. I stayed 2 days, and I was wowed by the beauty of nature in Adamawa. Adamawa is a place where about 6 flights goes to Yola every day. That means Adamawa is not just, it has potential not just to be a tourist attraction, but a business hub. And it's sharing border with Cameroon. So for every state in Nigeria, we need to see every state of Nigeria as a business. Every country is a corporate entity, okay? Having said that, young people in Nigeria have the right to be angry, of course. I grew up during the military regime. I was in primary school when General Buhari, when the current president, General Buhari, took over power. So 40 years, about how many years after? Maybe about 30-something years after, I'm in my 40s. I'm still, stuck with General Buhari. It may be a coincidence, okay, but I know that nothing has changed. The same political, system are still here. But what are we doing as young people? Okay, we've been told that, the future belongs to us. And just like Mr. Sajo said, interestingly, that, the people that are ruling Nigeria today were in their 20s when, during independence and, when they first came into the political environment. But what are we doing as young people? Most young people have disconnected from the system. Because like I said, there has to be a dream. A country is an enterprise. So there has to be a dream that people aspire into. The American dream, okay? I don't like to compare Nigeria with, US and the rest of them. But we need to grow our own vision, strategic enough, that everything must anchor on it. For example, I've been doing some work around agribusiness in the past 20 months. You know, for me, it was more of a study. I was interested in how we can bring project management, drive agribusiness as a business endeavor, and deploying technology to that sector, which is very promising. Interestingly, Nigeria has 84 million hectares of arable lands, which less than 50% of that is used. Billions cubic of water body, both surface and underground. And last year, when I was on a study trip to Israel, and to see how agriculture has been revolutionized, and we were talking about the land value and the water value that Nigeria has, natural value. And the guy looked at us. I said, "And you guys are here? You should be the food baskets of the whole world. You have 200 million people to feed, and across Africa, you have about 1.2 billion people to feed. You have no business. You have no business being here. You should go back home and make sure that your agriculture sector works." Okay? So for every Nigerian, we want to do what is right. Each and every one of us needs to start from our own space. Sometimes I'm at the traffic light, maybe in the evening or at night, and there is nobody in front of me, and there are people behind me, and they are honking at me to say, "Move." There are no cars coming from the other side. I'll stay there. If you want to move, go behind me. I'm on a queue. One big man comes in and he jumps the queue. I talk to him. Those times I lose my cool. I say, "Sir, excuse me, sir, there's a queue. Go back and queue." So sometimes most of us, or almost all of us, need to start doing the right thing. Okay, but like Mr. Bisi Akande said in Lagos, that where does the leadership come from? It's from us. Okay, they don't come from heaven. Okay, but the future, the values have been demoralized. Okay, for the last 20 years, for anybody that is a young man, that is a teenager, for the last 20 years, he has seen how it is, how easy it is to steal money from the coffers. Okay, it's not the citizens that made that, but we've created a system that makes it so easy to steal Nigerians' money. It's a system that we created, and we need to start having conversation around and holding people in government accountable, while we are also doing what is right as people. If everybody stopped collecting money from politicians today, because, for example, what is the job of an honorable member? The job of an honorable member is not to give you money. It's to make law. But you vote them, you ask them for when you're having burial, you send text message to them. I have some of them as friends. They can't even pick their calls because 90% or 99% of the calls that comes in, somebody is asking for money. That is not the job of politicians. So he needs to start looking for money. He needs to sustain his lifestyle, because the only thing that, the contract between him and his constituency is how to fund, some of them, pay school fees of some people. We need to now disaggregate what it means to be in government, okay? Because federal government is carrying too much weight. And like I said, we need to start treating this country as a business enterprise with portfolios. Abuja is a portfolio. Lagos is a portfolio.
Taufik, if the politician doesn't want to be called or receive text messages that my daughter is getting married or my father has died, he is the lawmaker. So it is his job to make laws that will at least tend to make every Nigerian self-sufficient. The system has turned all of us into beggars. Many can't even feed themselves, so they have to go to the legislator to beg for money to feed their children. And what has caused that? It is the system. So they are in a place to fix that, so they can't complain. If they're tired of it, they should fix it.
Mr. Akande, Mr. Akande.
Taufik, you're not saying anything about that?
Okay, while Taufik is thinking about it, Mr. Akande, this conversation, again, where he says, what are you doing from where you are? Now, that might look like a tough place to be because someone will tell you, what do you mean, what am I doing from where I am? Look around me. I don't have light. The roads around me are not good. I don't have water. I've provided all of these things for myself and I still pay taxes. But how do you still expect me to go around enforcing what you say or what should be the government's responsibility?
Okay, I think that, first of all, I agree with you when you say they are in the place to change the system. That's very correct. And they need to work on that system because we can't actually afford to be beggars. But in my space, I do some things, and I'll share this with you. I was speaking to some people sometime, and I said something accidentally, as it were, that if you go through the roads and you spill water on someone on the side of the road and you cannot park your car and say, sorry, you are not rich, you're actually poor. Now, I didn't know how much impact that had until a lady came around and told me that, do you know that this thing you said 3 years ago affected me? That if I go around now and I'm moving, when I see a pothole, I'm careful for the person that is on the side of the road, not to splash water on them. So we've got to get to that level where we begin to change the narrative, especially for young people, and begin to show them value. See, people behave...
Just hold your thoughts. We'll pick it up from that point, or we'll come back from this break, please. Just stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Conte, you were talking about where we are and what we can do. Can you pick it up from there?
Okay. So I was saying that people get their behaviors from 3 places. Hereditary, which is very little. Then there are dismemberment. Then there are role models. And I think that for me, if we've had this conversation over and over, our problem is leadership, and people are still growing in there, and they are doing the same thing, it means that some people need to just take the bold step to become real role models for younger people who are definitely going to take over power. That's the truth. Nobody is going to perpetuate themselves in power. No matter what, no human being has the capacity to be in leadership role at the age of 140. Even if you want to be there, you cannot carry yourself any longer. You will definitely go. But you see, look into the private sector and look at what Nigerians are doing with small businesses. Honestly, Nigerians are doing fantastically well. And I think that we can begin to look at that area of leadership rather than just looking at this governance leadership. Because the people, I think, who are in government leadership, I don't think they are in leadership. I think they are in rulership. There's a different system working there. They are thinking of other things. The selfishness is heavy. And that's why I'm comfortable, so why should I bother with the discomfort of somebody else? But unfortunately, a man who is comfortable and doesn't bother about the comfort of others will soon become uncomfortable. We need to look at...
In closing, just 30 seconds, closing statement.
Closing statement, 30 seconds, sharp one. That is very difficult, but this is it. Let's get our values right. When we get our values right, things will definitely change, gradually, but surely.
Okay, Taufik, your closing statement, 30 seconds.
So my closing statement will be that the change that we require as a nation, to be honest with you, is not going to come from government, not anywhere around government. It's going to come from the private sector. It's going to come from ordinary people like you and I doing the right thing. It's going to come from the ordinary Nigerians taking their future in their hands, determining what they want as a nation, setting the agenda, and giving it to people in power right now. Because sometimes I feel that there is a dearth of ideas, and honestly, most of them don't know what to do. But I'm not saying it's a bad situation, but we need to start creating the alternatives, creating the new narratives, and showing the people in power what can be done as private sector. Because when America comes to you, it doesn't come to you as just America. It comes to you as JP Morgan. It comes to you as Amazon. It comes to you as Facebook. It comes to you as Twitter. Nigerian businesses and business entrepreneurs also needs to start coming to the table with the alternatives. Thank you.
Sajo.
I started by saying we need to rediscover our moral compass. We need to begin to look at ourselves, and correct the lost values, rediscover our lost values. But most importantly, young people must mobilize themselves and, put pressure on the system to change. What we have today is a system that protects privileges. It does not protect rights. And where you have a system that does not protect rights, it protects privileges, you will never have a just society. A just society is built around a system that protects rights, not privileges. So we need to reconfigure our system so that we can begin to protect our rights. The people must begin to ask, government for what they believe is their own right. Things like the social gap is getting wider. We must begin to bridge it. We must begin to talk. And the young people are the only ones that can set these agendas. And so we are calling on younger people to please rise up, forget about this notion of being leaders of tomorrow, be the leaders of today that will construct a system that works for everybody in Nigeria. It's only when a system works for everybody that the country can attain its full potentials. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmad Sajo is Executive Director of Future Now Initiative. Taufik Babaiji is a management consultant. And Mr. Bisi Akonde is Executive and Leadership Coach. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing this morning with us. So as we'll be back in a moment, please stay with us.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. In his Independence Day speech, the president reiterated his commitment to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. That's by 2030. That's what we're going to be looking at in this segment, and we have with us Mr. Yowa Apera, National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office of the National Safety Nets Coordinating Office. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
We also expect Noroi Dokmolo, a business development consultant, to join us before the end of this segment. Mr. Apera,
Yes.
100 million people out of poverty in 10 years. That's in 2030.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Should I call it an ambition?
You will call it an ambition. You can also call it a statement of fact if the right investment is put in place. And indeed, the government of today is putting in place the right investment.
If, you said.
Yes.
Right. So the president has made some suggestions as to how he wants to go about it. And you said, if the right things are put in place, this is actually possible.
Yes.
So what should we be expecting to lift this 100 million people out of poverty in the next 10 years?
First, we'll start with effective planning and targeting of the poor and vulnerable across a whole spectrum of our socioeconomic lives. What the president has done and the current administration is beginning to put the right investment into poverty alleviation programs, starting with effective targeting of the poor and vulnerable by establishing, for the first time, a social register of poor and vulnerable that targets actual poor and vulnerable that are determined by their communities. Now, and other programs that they put in place, let's talk maybe, for instance, the cash transfer program that's paying about 1 million Nigerians. You say that is small. That is compared to 82 million poor Nigerians.
Which one is that? The trader money?
No, the cash transfer. That's a conditional cash transfer.
Okay.
Targets 1 million people. But let's look at that, for example, as a positive step or investment in the right direction. It's paying 1 million people 5,000 naira a month. That's 5,000 naira times 1 million gives you around 5 billion naira in a month. That's 5 billion naira injected into the economy, our local economy at once. Now, apart from the families of these people or folks that get 5,000 naira, it stimulates demand. Smoothes consumption, but stimulates demand. That means the trader in the market gets business because there's that money in there, and then that multiplier effect go round and round.
Well,
But
Mr. Apera,
yeah.
I know that little is better than nothing at all. But in today's economy, how much can 5,000 naira do for anybody?
Quite a lot. a poor Joe on the street that, I mean, we all have villages. We can all relate with this. You relate with the fact that when you go to your village, sometimes in some places, someone will not see 2,000 naira in close to 6 months. But you're giving 5,000 naira consistently every month. So we pay 10,000 naira every 2 months. This is consistent. It comes to them every single month. Now, some of these cash transfer programs and people, some of the success stories we've had, is that they've saved money. And we have in excess of about 823 million naira in excess of savings in these savings groups across the country. We have success stories, yes, from the 5,000
They are
naira.
saving out of the 5,000.
Yes, you'll be shocked. But that's the fact. And that's the truth.
What do they eat?
They, of course, they feed with it. So, you see, the interesting thing is when you sit from the point of view of us here and you look at what you take to the market, right, versus a poor folk there in on the streets or in the villages and what he takes to the market, you know the buying power is not the same, right? He can take 500 naira and make a pot of soup. You want to make a pot of soup, you maybe use 50,000 naira by your standard.
Okay, but Mr. Pera, so 1 million people across the country every month get 5,000. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Okay, in talking about ending poverty in 10 years, it's generally said that the poor of the poor live below $1 a day, and $1 going by the official rate is over 300 naira to $1. So if that's
450 naira.
if you're giving out 5,000 naira every month to a particular individual, it still doesn't make up to $1 a day. That person's spending again less than $1 a day.
Of course.
So if you're paying out 5 million naira to 1 million people, 5,000. That's 5 billion every month to 1 million people. That's what's going on. How long would it take to get 100 million people out of poverty?
Okay.
Earning that.
So first, let's clear here that the 1 million people cash transfer has the capacity to grow to 2 million, and it's growing every day, right? But that is just one out of many investments in the sector. So deliberately, you have also the school feeding program by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. By the way, I am under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. So you have the school feeding program that is feeding our children, but providing income to our women, local women who are cooks. They, in turn, are buying local grown food, thereby mopping up our agricultural excesses, putting income in the hands of the family. Now, you have close to 8 million or so puppies being fed around the country. You have well over 3,000 cooks providing these meals, and they are being paid about 7,000 naira or so, 75 naira per child. Now, every cook will get an average of 75,000 naira in a month. Now, this is money in the hands of this cook, over 3,000 of them. They, in turn, are buying from farmers. So think about the multiplier effect, right? When you pull this into the 1 million people question, that is a significant amount of money. Now, let's talk about trader money, market money that gives as little as 10,000, but 20,000. 10,000 might be small, but 10,000 injected into an Akara woman's business, it's huge investment that improves it. Now talk about the multiplier effect of that. Well over 3,000 Nigerians are benefiting from cash transfer. The Jeep. Now with those 10,000 naira loan that they have means that we increase, for instance, the stock of beans. Now, when they increase the stock of beans, that goes to increase the production of beans because the farmer needs to produce beans to meet up that demand.
You know,
so the multiplier effect is huge.
Fantastic views, fantastic initiatives, nice initiatives. But the question is the sustainability part of it. In 10 years from now, is there a law backing this so that should the administration change, We're not looking at with the next set of people going to our office, continue this. It's a given. It is there. And so in 10 years, we are sure that this thing is building up, it's ramping up. Yes, it was 1 million people last month or 2 million last month. It's gone up to 5 million. It's going up every month. So we have more people getting conditional cash transfer. We have people getting monies ingested into their business side, injected. So eventually, in that 10 years, it's a done deal.
Yes. So again, I would say the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has by far invested in positively in alleviating poverty from some of the, if we go back history. But to say about sustainability, you can sustain an initiative in one or two ways. One, establish a law that institutionalizes it and keep it there. And the government has taken the right step. The right step is to create a ministry that will institutionalize those programs, implementation, provide oversight and supervision, and then put in place policies that are solid and coherent to push towards law. And the National Assembly, it's working, should be working on the law with the ministry, right? That's one way. The other way is by result. You establish the results in a way and manner that it becomes, as it is, and rightly so, a right. And the vice president of this country earlier last year, January, said social protection is actually a right of Nigerians. Now, where you socialize these programs, a government coming becomes very unpopular if it stops it. So you socialize it in the results. And the results that are happening now, it's establishing that legitimacy, that transparency, but integrity. Now, let's come to where I oversee. We've started by developing a social register of poor and vulnerable. This register is developed by the community members themselves, wherein the community members will sit in a focal group discussion, the male, the female, and the youth. They will define for themselves what poverty means. And by that definition, they will then identify the poor and vulnerable households in their community. Once they do that and they agree on a common list, they sign off on that list. The community take ownership. A copy of that list is in the community. And at the moment, we have done this in 64,000 communities across the country in all 37 states. And we're counting by the day. So if you go to that community, they will show you the list. So when you come with cash transfer to pay, the community know who they selected. So they know that only these people collect the cash. So they hold the system accountable. Okay. Now, it's building confidence in it. Now, state governments are seriously buying it. The Lagos State Governor, just a week or two ago, in their executive council,
let me just please just hold your thoughts. We'll come back to pick it up from this point. Yeah. I'm impressed. 64,000 communities covered across the country. Social register of poor and vulnerable. But if I, as an individual or a corporate, wanted to even invest, where do I find that list to say I want to support what government is doing for this community? So we'll pick it up from there. We'll come back from this break. Thank you for staying with us. We've been joined by Mr. Norua Edokpolo, a business development consultant. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Edokpolo.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, so before you came in, Mr. Appiah was talking about what they've been doing. And I asked a question. I said, impressive. So at least 64,000 communities in the country, across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT, have selected the people they consider, as you say, the poor and vulnerable. Okay.
Totaling 19.6 million people.
Totaling 19.6 million
across
people.
the nation.
Okay. So if that be the case, I am a private concern and I want to support what government is doing. Maybe I feel like the 5,000 being given to these people is not good enough. I want to support that. Where do I find that list?
The list is with us, the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, NASCO. The list is available. What you do is once you approach me, We'll say that big but if we just need to sign a memorandum of understanding with you, stating very clearly what you need this data for, and what the purpose is, and the fact that you would need to create a feedback loop for you to feed me back on what you meet in the field and enroll
basically
them.
so that you can monitor what's happening.
Yes.
So the
And
list
it's
it's not on any
accessible.
website.
The detailed list is on a server, but it's not on a website for you to access the names for data security laws.
Okay.
But you can access the aggregate figures per state and per community on our website.
Okay.
Is any of that happening at the moment? Are any private individuals or private companies supporting the effort?
Yes, so last week, the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, actually on Tuesday this week, he was in Lagos to launch the UNDP cash transfer. Now, UNDP, it's an international organization, we'll say, but they've mined from the social register. They are targeting 10 community hotspots. You know, NCDC did announce some local government that were hotspots for the disease. And so they got money to do cash transfer across these hotspot communities, targeting 44,000 people. And in Lagos here, they started with about 3,000 of them in some of the communities that were hotspot communities that were likely to be locked down again because of the spread of the pandemic.
Okay.
So UNDP is mining. We also have other concerns that are mining, and every private individual is free to come. So the minister, sorry, just 1 minute. The minister convened the roundtable on zero hunger. And it's a collection of businesses in the country that wants to intervene at the pandemic. And what we have just done with them is to clearly give them a map. And what we also do is we collect information in every community. So we know the proximity of these poor individuals or families to good road, water, electricity, schools, network strength, GSM network strength. So we did filter all of this information out to them. So it helps them plan. If I want to give food to community X, do I need to prepare for boats? Or do I need to go on foot or get a donkey or get a bicycle and stuff like that? So this is information that we have within the social register for access.
You know, I will come back to you because of something you said earlier about people saving 2,000 from the 5,000 that they are paid monthly. That's amazing. Where do you get your data? Is it verifiable? Because we will also want to check. I mean, if I get 5,000 naira, or someone in my community gets 5,000, I still want. But hold on, hold your horses. We'll come back. Nora, so 100 million people out of poverty. Now, this is what they are doing so far. So 19 million have already been selected as a pound vulnerable, selected by their communities. They're already doing trader money. They are giving the conditional cash transfer. They're doing market money. They are doing other things, partnering with some people like the UNDP, as you talked about. Are these the steps for a business development consultant, for instance, that should be taken in moving people out?
Thank you very much. I think the first thing I'll say is that one should recognize the efforts that government is making in this direction, and to applaud them, for the very fact that these initiatives exist. What I would say is, can it be more effective? I think yes. So the president talked about the Chinese model. So what did the Chinese do? Part of what they did is what they're doing, getting money into the hands of those that really need the money at the lowest levels. Assuming that that is being done, as you have said. Unfortunately...
Justicably.
Yes, thank you, that's the word. In the Nigerian context, you must always, put those things in open and close for obvious reasons. Not you as a person, but, we're all Nigerians. So,
of course,
so we have that to deal with. So, but let's assume that that is being done to some extent. That's a good thing. So what else did the Chinese do? Infrastructure. All right? What else did they do? They fought anti-corruption. They fought corruption. Now, for us in Nigeria, I would say that in addition to whatever they're doing, there are two things that we keep coming back to, that if we don't deal with, will sabotage no matter how good.
All the
You must be
efforts.
hearing the news recently of the food program. It's not my money, it's your money, it's somebody's account. I don't know if you're getting it. Yeah. So the fight against corruption has to be such that these plans actually manifest. That's one. Two, there's a young man that attended a training that I organized, business plan writing. And then after that, he got a loan, and I'm not going to mention name, from one of the government, outlets for feeding. So you write a business plan, is approved, then you take it to them, and then you get the loan. So the boy got the loan on paper. All right? When it came to disbursement, strange things started happening. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, that corruption is still alive and well. That's one. Two, and this is so critical, if we do not do a value orientation or reorientation for our people, it's because the typical mindset is, this is whatever I can grab, let me grab it. So I wish that side by side what you're doing, the fight against corruption is real, and it's being done properly. I wish that there was also a deliberate plan to reorientate Nigerians. I mean, in a country where Leko is what we are celebrating, all right?
Yeah.
So it tells you, I was going home yesterday and I saw some young men in a gambling joint. And that gambling joint is jam-packed from morning till night. And there are multitudes of those kind
Like
of
that.
joints all across the country. So that the desire to work, labor, Ishe Agbe, Ishe Ilenwa, remember that song we used to sing in school, is not there anymore. So government needs to help itself by addressing anti-corruption, infrastructure, and values reorientation. Until those three things are done, we would discuss this in a short while after now, and some of these things that are like the foundations, if they are not well sorted, it might affect what they're trying to do.
Staying with you, Norua, it's interesting that you had to bring in that song, because agriculture is one of the things that the president is talking about. How do you think, because people are running to the cities now, nobody wants to stay in the rural areas anymore. Everybody wants to be in the urban center. So who is going to stay back and farm? Are there any suggested incentives to make people farm? There's 200 million of us. If we can't feed ourselves, then we're in trouble, Norua.
Very true. Incidentally also, I have a few, some investments in agriculture. We had to close down a multi-million naira, farm because we couldn't get the right people to employ. We couldn't get a farm manager that had experience to run it. So I was just thinking to myself, Youth Corps, I don't know if you're getting it. Why don't we incorporate into Youth Corps vocational skills, plumbing, electrical, installations, basic farming, etc. So that when they finish that 1 year, they're not looking for a job. They themselves become creators of jobs. I don't know if you're getting it.
Yeah.
Imagine that 1 year, you divide them. You go to plumbing, you go to electrical works. There's a huge deficit in building. But guess what? Hardly would you find a good Nigerian
Artisan.
artisan. Hardly would you find.
Yeah.
So, agriculture, the building sector, etc., etc., etc. These are some of the areas where we can actually, begin to, first of all, it starts with the mind. If you don't change the setting up here, it will be an uphill task to get any other thing really done with people. So we must start with, the reorientation. The value systems must be, we must begin to speak and act and do in such a way as to support the So if we ask now, what is the Nigerian value system, for example? It will be a difficult question to answer. So yes, agriculture is a good place, but also the building industry, there's a huge deficit of skilled, imagine an educated plumber. Imagine an educated, electrical person.
Norua, we know an architect who actually left architecture to study plumbing.
That's it.
And he says that the corrections he's had to make in mansions in Lagos is just mind-boggling.
That's the point we're
He
trying to make.
prefers to be a plumber than to be an architect.
That's it. So NYSC, because that's a good catchment area, can be, so that they finish the orientation, then you move them into vocational skills. When they come out of that place, those who are getting the jobs don't know what they're doing. So you end up, you've built this lovely house, you put on the light, it's not on. I mean, it doesn't come on. You switch on the tap,
pops.
pops, the water is not running, and then you have to break. So, I mean, there's a huge opportunity for people to be
But for the
empowered.
Nigerian to say he's a plumber is a thing to be ashamed of, isn't it?
That's part of the reorientation that must take place. Yeah.
Mr. Pera, yes. It's, as they say, you have your job cut out for you. Because when the president makes that statement, statements like that, it is your unit that tends to now have to get down and run with it.
Yeah.
So, with what you're doing now, some people are tweeting here that then they don't have any data. They're now seeing that. They're not seeing, they don't know anybody who's benefiting from that. That's why I asked the question about, is there a place where this information is published so that they can go there and see for themselves and then verify these things you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, first, we are on our social media handle, NASCO Nigeria.
That's
N-A-S-S. Yeah, N-A-S-S, yeah, C-O.
Okay.
NASCO, once you put it there, you'll see it clearly. So we give regular updates on the social register. So every month we come up with the figures across the country, across the state. At the moment, the social register has identified 4.6 million poor and vulnerable households made up of 9.7 million individuals across the country. And we can give you these figures by the community, by political wards. So it's 64,000 communities, 6,506 political wards, 545 local governments in 37 states, that's 36 states, and FCT Abuja. We have that database, and the aggregate numbers are published every month. Now, I will agree with you first, and Nigerians, that as a government, and as a government entity, we don't do so much with communication and socializing our work, but we are gradually waking up or coming to the fact that we need to do more in terms of socializing some of the huge investment or beautiful work that government is doing. You asked the question about what 5,000 can do. I will give you another example. In Jigawa State, in a village, women that are collecting this 5,000 a month saved the money and bought a 350,000 naira car to help the villagers convey pregnant women to the local government hospital for delivery. Can you beat that? Now, these are initiatives that they are taking themselves from the money that we give them every month. Now, this kind of stories abound, but do we know about them? The answer will be, for those who are on social media might, but for others, won't.
We know about that story. We reported on it.
You reported that story. Brilliant. Now, if you go to Lagos State Ministry of Planning on the 3rd floor, the State Operations Coordinating Unit, SUCO, is there, and it's there in every state under the Ministry of Planning, supervised by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Planning. You will find details of the Lagos State Social Register, the communities they have been in so far, the local governments, and the people they have registered so far as identified by their communities. And then when you come back to us, our website, NASSP, NASSP.gov.ng, you would find these records. That is that interactive. Now, we were setting up our MIS system that will be far more interactive, and when it comes on stream in the next 1 or 2 weeks, you can actually, with the map well articulated, you can get to see the communities. When you click on, say, a local government, you see the number of communities. When you click on a community, you see the basic figures there. Total number of poor people identified in that community, what amenities there, whether you access that community by a footpath or a road, a motorized road or a boat, you see those kind of basic features. That helps people interact with it, private sector to engage with. And then we are easily accessible at any time of the day that you get in touch. We can then guide you through accessing this data for any intervention.
That's for the purpose for...
I want to read this tweet because somebody here was very skeptical. and says, how you will believe that man saying people in villages are saving out of 5K baffles me without any verifiable data. I hope he's been able to convince you that this thing is actually happening, because he's told you what some of them have actually come together and done with the money.
I mean,
and
channels
confirmed
covered
that
it.
they actually covered the event where the car was launched. So
Okay, but
all this has merit.
Even though that's part of people providing a vehicle to get their people to the hospital, that's what government's supposed to be doing as well. But they did that for themselves. Again, this matter of 100 million out of poverty. How achievable? I mean, Norua talked about agriculture. The president talked about agriculture. What you're doing, you're giving monies to people.
Yes.
Are they getting a reorientation? Tunde Arogumati says, to make any progress in the quest to end poverty in 10 years, Nigeria must adopt a zero tolerance to poverty mindset that eliminates the worsening begging syndrome and takes actions beyond social safety net that boost productivity via skills, resource base, and policy development. What about mindset? Is it just enough to give out money?
No. So what we do a cash plus. And this is, we accompany the cash we give with some basic education in savings, in investments, in health, nutrition, basic environmental issues and agriculture.
Okay, sorry.
We are also working with the World Bank to also pilot
To bring in
sets of livelihoods that takes these beneficiaries through a mentorship scheme that then provides them the necessary skills
No,
to start up a business.
would that make a difference for one who's training people?
Yes, it will. But like we are all identifying that the things that are being done now, cash in hand, is wonderful. But if the produce from that small village gets rotten instead of getting to the closest market. So what I would say is that your team, from what you're saying, seems to be doing a great job, but your team needs to be complemented by other teams.
Very true.
The other things must be in place because there's no way you can deliver all alone. I don't know if you're getting it. So,
Yes. So you pick it up from that point about delivering on all of these things. So we'll come back from this break. Just stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Nora, you're talking about what they need to do. Yes, cash is good, but beyond cash, mindset, market
mindset, infrastructure, basic infrastructure. You know what I mean? Such that I remember, what was it? There was one that actually, where the roads were built, in all. Yes, was it different? Yes,
yeah,
one of those things. So we need to, so that, it's, like I said, I'm in the agriculture space. Sometimes the bulk of the produce gets rotten right there in the farm because of transportation, just to get it from there to the nearest marketplace to sell. So things must go, a couple of things have to go pari passu. So what you are doing on the one hand, infrastructure on the one hand, genuine fight against corruption on the one hand, and also human capital development. We're talking about, farm hands, farm managers, building the building industry, so that the young people, because our young people, our future, they are jobless, they are angry, and that's dangerous. And many of them are not even in your catchment area because they're not in the villages. They've all moved to the urban centers, and they are jobless, they are angry, and they can't even hold down a job because they don't have the right skills. So as you are dealing with those really ultra poor in those places, somebody must be looking at the people in the cities who are probably more, their fuses are probably closer to, than, So I think that's something to look at.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, I think 2 years ago, government developed the harvesting Nigeria's demographic dividends, investing in the youth across that spectrum. And some of the initiatives, the Empower and others, are also a product of some of those thoughts. But I agree with you. We need to invest more, and perhaps we also need to begin to invest in our cognitive capital. Starts with good food, because most of our youth now grow up malnourished, and so their cognitive development, it's a bit shaky. Yeah, and so they don't engage. I mean, positively. When we were growing up, as young as I am, I come from a village called Agasha, right, in Goma local government of Benue State. We're rich in gravel, so we dig the ground or pull gravel. We used to, when I finish my secondary school, I'll go back to the village, I'll dig the gravel, make up a trip of gravel, then it was just 600 naira, load on the tipper, and I'll make the money to come back to school and be a big boy in school. How many of your youths are doing that now?
Well, that's another side of it. Since some will say that would also help to destroy the environment. If we have every youth going ahead to do this kind of digging, and we're talking about protecting the environment more.
Of course,
so that's another conversation. We're going to have the Minister of Environment here tell us more about that. But let me read this tweet as we wind down. Closing statements here. Wanga Ubebe says, how does a government claiming to tackle poverty suddenly sack and throw away 400,000 youth previously engaged in the Empower program to the streets without any concrete plan for them? That's one. Number two, Victorious Man says, I was selected for this program last year in my community at Toja Estate, Oshobo. They only enrolled us, so the program took our pictures. I'm yet to receive 1 naira. Mr. Yowa, what happened to communities that have not received any monies in this? And finally, from Inyobong says, if it were that easy to get these figures of the very poor Nigerians, you would answer that one. It says, why has it been difficult to conduct population census in all these years?
Okay, let me take the first question on around Empower. So government, in engaging 500,000 youth, told them you only have a stay on the program for 2 years. They give you 30,000 naira stipend, and they encourage you. They give you, they lecture you. You have modules that you go through, and you're expected to then take your destiny into your hands and invest. Indeed, out of the 500,000, close to 170,000 of these youth have started businesses of their own. Some fish farming, some poultry, some all of that. Now, when government does this to you, I think it's unfair for you to expect that post 2 years that you knew this program is only for 2 years, and you had this opportunity in these 2 years not to build something for yourself, but expect the same government to then handhold you through it. This is not throwing away the responsibility of government, right? But this is also putting it back on us, that we need to begin to think through what we're doing. Okay. Secondly, I'm glad that my Oshobo friend has pointed out that she was actually recorded. So for those who are saying we cannot validate, an individual testimony shows that it's already there. But to also come to her question around the cash transfer, when we identify poor and vulnerable into the social register, the cash transfer program will come and mine from the social register and get them enrolled. So as we're enrolling, they're also coming behind enrolling for the cash transfer. So it's a going concern. If they've not started in your community, they will soon get there. Now,
1 year after.
Yeah, of those, it takes quite a number. Back to the exact question on corruption, right? You need to take care. You need to be systematic in how this cash gets across the people to avoid these bottlenecks. Okay. So there's a whole accountability structure that has been built around it. And CSO, civil society organizations, have been employed or engaged who go to this community to validate that these names selected by the communities are the names that end up in the social register and are the names that are ending up in the cash transfer. So setting all of that in communities that are new, including getting a payment service provider that will get them onto a payment platform.
You've really run out of time. So why is it so difficult to run a census if it's that easy to get data, as you said?
Because when you come to census, all other different variables come to play. And then it becomes muddied up. You know,
including politics.
Politics, religion, tribe, etc., etc. So it's just like our elections, you know. So once you get into census and elections, then other variables which nobody will mention but are very, you know, powerful come to play, and then it messes up everything.
Okay, I'm afraid that's where we have to leave it for today. Mr. Yowa Pera of the National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office and Mr. Norua Edokolo, Business Development Consultant, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
for
Always a
coming
pleasure.
this
Thanks for having
morning.
us. Yeah.
Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.
And now we have a special guest today, who's the Minister for Environment. He's here to give us an update on what the government is doing to protect the environment. In the face of all that's happening, we are joined by Dr. Muhammad Mahmoud Abubakar, the Minister of Environment. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And how has it been with you within this pandemic?
Well, it has been busy, challenging, forcing us to develop a new normal and become more innovative to contain with the pandemic, which has not really left anything out to chance. It has involved everything, everywhere.
But let me start out with this one. Within this period of the lockdown, a lot of things, a lot of negative impacts on the environment has been reduced. So it would appear that while the humans are locked up and the pandemic is raging, the environment is reviving itself. So would you be one of those, as some in some quarters are doing, would be one of those who suggest that let's bring back the lockdown so that the environment can find its feet again and then we can all come out?
Well, no, I won't, because what we call adaptation and resilience is, first of all, learning to deal with a situation. The resilience is to also make progress and advance in the face of adversity. The two must go hand in hand. What we want to do eventually and as quickly as possible is to be able to develop that vaccine that is needed so that we can return to our economic activities. But with the understanding that the planet during this pandemic lockdown has gotten a reprieve and has shown an effect and improvement in the global, in the climate change impact. So maybe with that, we can now try to do the two without hindering the other. That is the sustainable development that we have always been talking about.
But let's move on and look at this matter of the Kyoto Convention, the Kyoto Protocol, which
Yes.
Nigeria signed the Doha Amendment and becoming the 144th country to do that. What does this mean for Nigeria?
Well, first of all, let me once again congratulate Nigeria and Nigerians, and particularly Mr. President, for signing it. Nigeria made history. Without the president's signature as the 144th, all the 143 would have gone down the drain, and the agreement wouldn't have could not come into force. So this means a lot for Nigeria and for the world. One, starting with Nigeria, this has put Nigeria on the map. Nigeria has been part of the international community in climate conferences and actions since 1994, when it became a party to the UNFCCC, that is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and has been part of the original 192 countries in 1997 that signed up to the Kyoto Protocol, all the way coming to the Doha amendment to the Kyoto Protocol. We will be able to reduce our own emission. We'll be able to interact with the international community, international organization. We'll be able to focus on areas that will help reduce climate change. That is moving to smart agriculture, renewable energy like solar, which the government is energizing education. 9 federal universities right now are being energized with completely solar energy, smart agriculture, waste recycling, capacity building. So we stand to gain a lot in this area. And at the same time, cleaning our own environment, immediate environment, first of all, and then the world in general.
But then there are those who are criticizing that pact as encouraging those who are polluting the waters and the environment to continue in their bad behavior. Do you agree with this?
No, no. You see, in fact, you can trace this to why even this protocol has not been ratified, the Doha Amendment, up till this time. First of all, there is, of course, economic consideration. The world over, every single country is looking out for its own economic viability. The developed countries that were initially actually the culprit to this serious global warming that we are facing and climate change, oftentimes do not want to take the full responsibility of their own actions. They are the one that polluted most of the environment. And then the developing countries are the ones facing the brunt. So what these protocols are doing is to find institutional frameworks that will now lay the responsibility on the nations that pollute the most in terms of investing in the actual climate action remediation and all that. And that's why it took this long. Now, the developing countries, from the beginning, the protocol says the developed countries will reduce emission by 5.2%. This was the original protocol commitment. Then the Doha Amendment is the one that says now, okay, let's make it that collectively every country should now reduce by 18%. Okay, nobody is against that, but look at the commitment that is being put at the time on the developing countries. You must have mechanisms, institutional mechanisms, implementation mechanisms in place that will look at this equitably. If the major polluters are doing 18, the developing are doing 18, how do you support the developing countries? How do you put in place a mechanism that will see to the implementation, that will build the capacity of developing countries, that will help with funding and all this of developing countries? So it took this long because of that. Now, I don't think that this is giving the polluters additional impetus to continue to pollute or have their cake and eat it, as it might be said. The thing is, we are talking about completely collective effort, and the developing countries in this are also there. That is why oftentimes when we go to conventions, we have negotiations. And what this does is, wherever we see some kind of inequality or inequity is going to come into play, the parties will now have to sit, take whatever time is going to take to iron out this, so that we are doing this equitably. And I think with the ratification of the Doha Amendment, which Nigeria became the 144th signatory, will put this in place, because with this now there is a lot more implementation strategy. There is more commitment. The institutional framework is there. Who needs to do what? And part of what Nigeria also does, Nigeria can single-handedly meet the commitment of 18%, even 20% we have pledged, coming down to the Paris Agreement. But going beyond that, many other developing countries, Nigeria inclusive, will require some kind of assistance from developed countries in order to meet that commitment.
Now, the president did say that most of our fauna and flora was now endangered. Yes. And to deal with that problem, a national biodiversity strategy was developed. Talk to us about that, please.
National biodiversity strategy, yes, that was developed by the Federal Ministry of Environment. For one thing, let me start with what is currently on the ground, the pandemic. One of the reasons why we are facing this catastrophe of pandemic is because of this issue of biodiversity. A mixture of, integration between humans and animals, encroaching into the wilderness, depleting or causing the loss of biodiversity. The virus currently we are dealing with has been found to be zoonotic, meaning it can transverse from humans to animals, or animals to humans, rather animals to humans. And this is one of the issues with biodiversity. Nigeria being a signatory to various biodiversity agreement or protocols or project is also committed to that. That is why the president mentioned that. And with that, we have developed a document which was developed through interministerial commitment. And what this policy document is doing is to adopt 14 smart national targets with 21 impact indicators and about 67 actions with 123 indicators, performance indicators. This is to keep track of the growth of biodiversity and to slow the loss of biodiversity. In that vein, we have agencies that are also into this. And one of them is the National Park Service. We have the Forestry Department, Federal Forestry Department. We have the Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria. These are all agencies and departments that the government is empowering to make sure that we have stepped off the loss of biodiversity, because it makes great contribution to the climate action fight. So the president has empowered and has instructed, directed all these agencies to come together through an interministerial committee that will develop the best way to tackle the issue of biodiversity loss and to the restoration of also biodiversity across the country and in cooperation with the rest of the world.
Okay, Dr. Abubakar, we'll take a moment and return to look at the Green Wall Initiative and the situation in Ogoni land. Do stay with us, our viewers. Thank you for staying with us. We still have the Minister for Environment, Dr. Muhammad Mahmood Abubakar, who's sharing with us the situation around the country. Dr. Abubakar, before we went on that break, you were talking about the plans by government to protect biodiversity, the strategy that has been adopted, even as the president mentioned it. But there's also the bit about, I want to look at how this ties into the Kyoto Protocol and Doha, with the Doha Amendment that has been signed. And yet we still have people, this thing about 11,000 people dying from air pollution. That's a World Bank report. About 11,000 people died from air pollution in Lagos alone. How does all of this tie into protecting our biodiversity and indeed protecting those living in Nigeria?
Of course, biodiversity is basically connected to everything. Air pollution is connected to everything. The environment, of course, the Kyoto Protocol, the amendment, they are all interconnected. The whole environment is interconnected. What happens today in Nigeria can affect Ghana. In fact, catastrophe from way across the world, United States or Russia or anywhere, China, can affect Nigeria. The environment is one and the same, especially in terms of air, of course, in terms of water and everything. Now, the air pollution issue in Lagos and in Nigeria is issue of, one, energy use. Second, the people, the economy, that is the private sector, the government, using the right sources of energy, appropriate technology, all kinds of things that will make a better environment in terms of air quality. Lagos, being a highly cosmopolitan state, you have vehicles, vehicular emission, you have motorcycles, you have zillions of generators, I mean millions and millions of generators, big and small, and so many other things that contribute to air pollution. And this is usually is the normal in cosmopolitan areas, because I have been around the world and I've read how areas, cities become this. Now, what do we do to curb this? First of all, is to look at our energy use. That is why the Federal Ministry of Environment, through the commitment beyond the Kyoto Protocol, in the Paris Agreement also, Nigeria has committed to reducing emission by 20% by this year, 2020, unconditionally, meaning we can do it. And we have instituted programs by the federal government, approved by Mr. President, switching to solar energy, for example, under a program called Energizing Education. We have these universities, about right now, 9 federal universities are being put on totally solar energy off the national grid. Smart agriculture. We are building waste recycling plants across the country and involving the private sector to reduce the amount of waste that is coming in. And that in turn reduces how much energy you will require to extract fresh new resource and produce new product. With recycling, you are using half or less energy required. We are going into so many things to be able to reduce the amount of energy and to reduce in particular the emissions that is going into the atmosphere. The federal government is working.
Honourable Minister, if I may interrupt you, you've talked about so many things that the government and your ministry is going into to ensure that the environment is protected. But what else is the government going into to restore the lost animal families around the country? For instance, Nigeria is says to have just a population of 300 elephants. There used to be more than that.
Yes. Now, we are talking about population growth. We are talking about the need to feed people, agriculture. We are talking about Nigeria, of course, being within its own boundaries. You are bound to have this kind of close proximity with animals as the population expands, at requirement for food security. So we are bound to go into that. But in addition, what is even worse is poachers, people who kill these animals for either their skin or their tusk or whatever it may be. So this is a multifaceted problem. The government is doing whatever it can, has banned the exportation of so many things, animals, including even forest product. This is all in an effort to reduce the loss of elephants and many other species. And when you push elephant, of course, back into their sanctuary, as the sanctuary shrinks, they have to find somewhere to go. That is why you have this interaction. So the government is very serious about illegal poaching and exportation of this product. The Federal Ministry of Environment doing the same. The government has just approved the employment of additional park rangers that will help in protecting this forest so that we do not have the incident of people coming into contact with the wildlife and killing them in self-defense or some really poaching. So
what about enforcement? What about enforcement, like punishment for those who infringe on this forest or who go ahead to kill this animal? How about enforcement? Because the fines, some of them are just fines that are very minimal.
No, I think the government is more serious now. There is more. We are revising some of this policy. We just recently got a policy approved by the Federal Executive Council, that is the National Forestry Policy in Nigeria. And in that is a policy that has gotten much wider collaboration. Everyone is in it, local government, state, private sector, NGOs, CBOs, and all that. And this has been strengthened. The old one, which has become obsolete, is the one of 2006. And this one just got passed, approved in 2020. So we have upgraded all the mechanisms to stop this poaching, including the punishment for that. In environment, unless otherwise, you want corrective measures. But where you have to punish, you must make sure the punishment is unattractive so that the perpetrators will not just pay for the penalty and continue to pollute or to commit crimes.
Minister, wet markets have reopened, and we seem to have forgotten that this situation we are in now, this pandemic, is said to have been caused by interaction at some wet market in China. Wet markets,
Absolutely.
which were closed during the pandemic here, have all reopened, and it looks like business is carrying on as usual.
Yes, indeed. It's unfortunate that we have this kind of situation. And some of it, there are certain issues that dealing with them becomes really difficult. You have to find the mechanism. You have to find the way to reach the people. because some consider certain wet market activities either cultural or even sacred or something. The federal government, again, the National Park Service and other areas, other department of the forestry department are taking this to the people campaign, making sure the people understand, and then putting the same laws that you're talking about, the mechanism to checkmate people that will go and do that. These are things that will take a little time to get the understanding. First of all, one of the things is to get the people to buy into program and project that you are putting forward to them. But of course, it has to come with the mechanism to enforce and then to punish. Otherwise, simple education will not do, but you will make a headway when you educate the people and make them understand what is good for them or bad for them or good for the environment and bad for the environment.
You know, when you say educating the people, some will say, what kind of education are you talking about? Are you going to go back to, are you thinking about putting in the curriculum from primary school, secondary school, and the university? Is that the kind of education? Are you also talking about reorientation? So we're looking at social education, getting the NGOs to go ahead to educate the people. To what level would you be looking at that? Because that would also tie into the Green Wall Initiative, for instance, where everybody, while the government is planning the Green Wall to curb desertification and slow down the spread of desert, everybody's encouraged to plant a tree. How's that working?
Right. Right now, we are dealing with secondary education. In the curriculum, we are infusing environmental education, climate action education. At the primary level, when I was chairman Universal Basic Education Commission, we introduced issues of agriculture. So at every level, we are trying to bring, catching them young to make sure that they understand the concept of good environmental management to step off climate action. So we are doing that at various schools levels. That is one thing. The Great Green Wall Initiative. This is an initiative that is a collaboration between 11 countries across the northern part of Nigeria. And this is a project where every single country has committed to planting trees, to making sure that they improve the livelihood through forestry, agroforestry, land restoration of degraded land, because these are areas where desert encroachment has become a very serious issue. In Nigeria, our Great Green Wall has taken strive in doing a lot of things, and the government is supporting. So far this year, from the beginning of this year to date, in the last conference we had with the African, Biodiversity Initiative, it has been found that Nigeria has reclaimed more degraded land than any other country of the 11 frontline countries in the Great Green Wall Initiative. So we are going full force with that. And just last week, I flagged up a training program for young women and youth in general, men and women, in improving livelihood so that the people in the rural areas are not just depending on the forest product for livelihood. We are teaching them other trade while at the same time engaging them in the planting of trees, in the maintenance, in other words, making them own the project. Okay, this is your plantation, this is your tree. What you do will benefit you. If you don't, you are the one who will suffer more than anybody else. With all the incentive that the Great Green Wall Agency can provide. At the same time, we are providing stoves, smart stoves that can keep people away from going into the woods. But also, in certain areas, we plant special wood lots with trees that are specifically meant as fuel wood. So we are trying to cover every aspect of this initiative so that the project will succeed.
While that's happening up in the northern part of the country, what's happening in the southern part, particularly Ogoni land, for instance, where the cleanup is supposed to have gone to a large extent? How's that going?
The Ogoni cleanup is going. We had some issues from the beginning. It's not quite where we want it to be. However, we have sought for approval from Mr. President, which he graciously approved to reorganize and restructure, which we have done. Just last week, we went and commissioned 6 sites that have been remediated, completed, and are being certified by our certification agency. We are going on with that. We have awarded additional 36 sites to be cleaned up. And still, to date, the UNEP that drawn up the program, that made the assessment and recommendation is right there. In fact, we are just engaging them as the project management consultant. Before now, they were just technical advisory committee, but looking at the way the project was going, slow, not at the pace that we want, we did that. There's also livelihood. We're also awarding water project in the 4 local government of the Ogoni land, and this is to improve the livelihood. Currently, training is going for women and youth in livelihood skills like agriculture, aquaculture, poultry, and many other things. So this is going full force right now. We are pushing to get it back on track to where we want to. We have lost about a year or so, that I must admit, but we want to get it back on track, and we are doing that.
Honourable Minister, we'll just go for a very quick break. We'll come back to tidy up this conversation. Please, do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have the Honourable Minister of Environment with us, and we're looking at the situation. Dr. Abubakar, you were talking about the Ogoni cleanup and the progress. You mentioned that UNEP, that had brought about the report initially, is now a consultant to the project. You're also doing livelihood training for the women and youth in the community. You said about 36 new sites have been awarded, so cleanup is started in those ones, and 6 have been commissioned. How is there a way to speed up this entire process, seeing that a year has been lost already?
Yes, one of the ways to speed up, like I said, is the engagement of UNEP, and of course this engagement of some consultants that we found are not adding so much value, or that could just not handle such a big project based on their own level of experience and equipment. These are the reasons why we are doing this. We will continue to go closer to the project, supervising, pushing the contractors, the consultant, but carefully to make sure that when a site is considered completed, remediated, that yes, it is that, which is why we will take samples and test to make sure whatever level of pollution, hydrocarbon pollutants are in there are now out, and the land can go back. One thing I can say is, honestly, in some of the areas that we went to, already there's vegetation growing on that side, which showing that something has been done and is taking place. So this is something that Mr. President specifically said, to adhere to the recommendations by UNEP and to do the project based on global best practice. And that is exactly what we are doing, what we'll intend to continue to do, and put in place whatever mechanism that will deliver the project, even though a year behind, on time for the next additional 1 year, because we have to review. We have to review the time that we'll now submit this project.
Honourable Minister, before the pandemic came along earlier this year, we had already been told that this was going to be an unusual year as regards the rains and flooding. And then the pandemic came along and compounded the lives of farmers across the nation. Some of them lost their total harvest. Is government doing anything to try and mitigate the circumstances?
Yes, government is working with state government. That's the federal government is working with the state government. Particularly, I can tell you one state that has lost so much, Kebbi State. Jigawa is another hectares of rice land, farmland has been flooded, and a lot of crops lost. government is working with the state. In addition, the Federal Ministry of Environment, Ecological Fund, and the rest of them are working on the measures of flood control. Already we have the Department of Erosion Control, Flood Control in the ministry that is working. We have the new map, which is a project under the Federal Ministry of Environment in conjunction with the World Bank. And what we are doing is making sure that we put in place dikes, all kinds of infrastructural provisions that will step off flooding. Water resources also, we are collaborating with them under the Interministerial Committee on Dams that is under the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. This is something that requires all hands on deck to make sure the issue of flooding and erosion. But most importantly also, if you look at urban erosion, which sometimes can go out into the countryside, is also adherence to the provision of urban development, where people do not provide the proper drainages, or where they block the drainages with garbage, or people will build in floodplains or in wetlands, where again flood waters are supposed to be taken in by these special pieces of land that are left behind. And in that, we also call with the state government to make sure enforcement, well, both the federal and state enforcement agencies must make sure that people comply with any urban development rules and regulations. Otherwise, this is an issue that will be recurrent. Then, in addition, if you look at the overall global warming issue, we also have the issues of flooding coming from the larger part, which is what? The warming of the globe, the melting of the polar ice caps in the North Pole, the sea rising, pushing sometimes water into riverine areas or little streams, and then coming up. Where you have no drainages, then you have issue of flooding of also coastal areas. So this is something that requires both local, national, and international effort to make sure the issue of flooding is brought under control.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Mahmood Abubakar, Minister of Environment. Thank you for sharing today with us.
Thank you for having me.
Sunrise will be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Thank you for staying with us. Thursday was Independence Day, and actually we are going to look at our national symbols. What does that mean? If you watch Sunrise regularly, you will recall that we spoke about these things before. We spoke about the national flag, we spoke about the coat of arms, and those are all parts of our national symbols. But it's more apt at this time for us to focus on those symbols. The national symbol of any nation is an artistic and natural or human representation of its identity, and it is intended to unite its people. Thomas Emmanuel is with us this morning. He's a landscape planner. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Now, let us begin by you telling us what the significance is of national symbols of a nation.
Okay. The national symbol of a country, say the coat of arms of Nigeria or the flag, is an emblem. It is a symbol of state power and authority. I would say like in traditional times, when you have a symbol that represents the king, wherever the symbol is, the staff of the king, it is the king that is there. Wherever this coat of arms is shown, there's supposed to be some sort of reverence, national reverence, that it has to do with the authority of the state.
Mm-hmm. Can you say the same way that you talk about the mace in the house?
The same way you talk about the mace in the house, yes.
Okay. Now, I see you've come along with a plant.
Yes.
Now, what exactly is that?
And how does that relate to
what we're talking about?
Symbol? Yeah.
Okay, this is Costa spectabilis. This is Nigeria's national plant, and the flowers are depicted on the coat of arms. The flowers are supposed to be yellow, really bright orange. Though
It's a flowering plant.
it's a flowering plant. No flowers presently.
It's sitting down there looking like a cactus.
Yes, but not a cactus. Now, it's sitting down there, 3 or 4 leaves on the ground, flat on the ground. A flower comes out from the center. The flower is yellow and it's beautiful. Spectabilis comes from spectacular. It's beautiful. Now, the Costa spectabilis is what we call in botany, the order Zingibaril. Zingibaril means gingers and bananas. And it means that it is part of a member of the order gingers and bananas.
Okay, I want to do something here because we're not seeing it too well. So let's see. So let's see. Tell us about this plant.
So I learned about Costa spectabilis in school, primary school.
Say that again, please.
I learned about
Costa
Costa spectabilis.
spectabilis.
Costos. C-O-S-T-U-S. Spectabilis.
Spectabilis.
From spectacular, spectabilis. B-I-L-I-S, that's what ends it. Spectabilis. I learned about it in primary school.
Okay.
It's in the curriculum. My social studies teacher was a Ghanaian, and he told me that the flowers were yellow. I learned it in primary school. 4, 5, and 6, it's in the curriculum to date. The only challenge is that today, you check the textbooks and you find out that in the textbooks, it shows that they say it is red. And in some textbooks, it says red and yellow. And the government, the federal government of Nigeria, has it presently as red in the coat of arms. And that is misleading because they taught us that the symbol, the flowers of the Costa spectabilis, symbolizes Nigeria's beauty. And you cannot symbolize a country's beauty in the wrong color. Imagine if you have a church and you have a cross on the church and the cross was turned upside down. Does it still symbolize Christians? That's how it is.
You know, when you say what is currently and what was before, there are those who will tell you that things evolve. So, for instance, we know that the national flag and the coat of arms ordinance number 48 of 1960 and remain the symbol of authority. And on the coat of arms, the eagle, red in color, is said to symbolize strength, while the horses represent dignity. The 2 wavy hands, bands are silver in color on the shield, represent the rivers Niger and Benue. The shield is black and represent the good, fertile earth. But the flower, this, you say, which in the original text, you say is what, yellow?
Okay.
Bright orange. But now, in some of the coat of arms painted here and there, it's different colors. Of what benefit? That's what we have. That's a picture there.
Yes,
that's when it's flowered,
yes,
right?
that's the flower.
Yeah, but beyond the fact that it signifies Nigeria's beauty, what other significance? What else does this do? What's so unique about this plant?
Okay. Yesterday we had a climate strike in Lagos, around Alausa, and it was repeated in Abuja, in Taraba, in Kenya, in Ghana. They celebrated with us, and it's about indigenous plants. Now, you may not know that mango, the pear, the avocado pear, are not indigenous plants. And so many plants you see around us are not indigenous plants. And indigenous plants are like indigenous people. They know the environment better. They work with the environment better. And they are supposed to be part of our history, our culture. And we are losing them. And what replaces them is plants that were brought into the country during the colonial period. Now, Costa spectabilis perfectly symbolizes indigenous plants because it is an indigenous plant growing all around the country before. Today, the Costa spectabilis, like many other indigenous plants, are threatened. You can hardly find it. It took me 11 years to find the Costa spectabilis.
11 years?
11 years, 2007, 2018. I also grow, presently, I have grown almost 10,000 of this plant. It's edible, and it can help with cataracts and many other things.
No, seriously?
Yes. I wrote to the Royal Botanic Gardens, and they sent me a document, and that document proves it. But I got the information from food and medicine men. I go into the forest where they have wild animals, I interview medicine men, and they tell me what they do with plants. I have stocked about 28 different red indigenous plants. One of them is Chagpaya. I have results, not medicine now, I'm not doing medicine now, I'm doing food products. I've given this food out to people who have asthma, 24 years of asthmatic problems cleared off. And that's just to show that we have so much in this country and we're not focusing on what we have.
So you tell me that this is edible?
Yes, I brought a sample.
And it can help with our eyesight.
Yes, it can.
Eaten.
I can eat it. People eat it. Nigerians are eating
That's
it
what I'm
already.
saying. So it's not that you squeeze it into your
No.
eye
You can
or
eat
you
it
eat it.
You can eat it as you can eat it as salad. You can eat it as smoothie. I got a woman I met on Instagram. She made it into a stir fry.
Stir fry.
Yeah, it's nice. I have the videos.
So I can
It's
plant
online on
this. I can
Instagram.
plant this in my compound.
Yes, you can plant this in your
Is it
compound.
easy to grow?
Hold on. The Couscous Spectabilis is not a garden plant initially.
Okay.
And that's why you don't find it anywhere else.
It's
now,
in the
if you
bush.
connect the Couscous, yes, it's in the wild. If you
Okay.
connect the Couscous Spectabilis, it will, in less than 30 minutes an hour, you will begin to see signs that the Couscous Spectabilis will die. If you collect it in the wild and want to take it into your garden, 30 minutes, you'll start to see signs. And
dear.
now, I experienced this. When I collected the first 25 samples, I lost 23. Only 22 survived. I brought it from Jos down to Lagos, 23 died. And it pained me a lot because it cost me about 200,000 to go get that. And I had to go back again to get some other ones, and now I have so many. Now, but we have been able to acclimatize the Couscous Spectabilis. We've done it in Jos, we've done it in Lagos, we've done it in Delta State. We can.
Where did you find it originally? In the deep
Yes, in the
forest.
forest in Jos. Yes, in the wild. And now ours can grow. We can sell ours, and then you can grow it and regrow it, and like that. We've mastered it.
Okay.
One more thing is that the flowers, according to the books, which I have experienced in the wild, flowers between April and July. Between April and July. But my flowers, for my Couscous Spectabilis, they flower from March to September 18 this year. Last year, from March to August 16 last year. So we are bettering the chances of this plant day by day.
Okay.
Okay, so the producers
Yeah.
brought us some pieces of the flower, the Costa Spectabilis. I'm
tell me what it tastes.
not very adventurous with food, but I'm going to try this one.
Tell me what it tastes when you eat it. What do you think? Sorry. It tastes-
I hear a crunchy sound.
Yeah, it tastes crunchy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember growing up. There's this it's like a tube or something that we used to go to the bush to pluck, and you peel it. It's like sugar cane, but it's not sugar. It's somewhat sour. Has a tinge. That's the word. So, and it's quite nice.
Quite nice. Now, many people say it tastes like a fruit, not a leaf.
Yeah, it tastes like
apple,
yeah.
like apple,
Yeah.
like almond, something.
Right. So on that coat of arms, we have two white horses.
Yeah.
What do they symbolize?
Dignity, Nigeria's dignity. White horses, dignity. Some people say pride. Yes, but dignity.
White horses, dignity. This coat of arms, is it still being taught in schools and the meaning of it?
Yeah, the coat of arms. Okay, I'll tell you something. Presently, Nigeria uses, in authority, in power, Nigeria uses over 20 different coat of arms. And the coat of arms, as we were taught, is supposed to be consistent.
Oh, so how are we using 20 different coats of
Because
arms?
if you go look at the governors, the logos behind the governors, the coat of arms behind the governors, you'll be seeing yellow horses. In some offices, you'll be seeing the blue river. The Y is blue, not...
No, some states have their own coat of arms. Am I not
No,
correct?
I'm not talking about state coat of arms. I'm talking about Nigerian coat of arms.
Yellow
We have
horses.
over 20 of them. Just go online, check online, you'll see them.
I'm
Yellow
online right
horses,
now.
Blue River. You can check my handles. You'll see them there. I always put them there. Blue rivers, red and yellow flowers, different kind of flowers. I've seen of recent. I saw. That's the first time I'm seeing an eagle. The eagle is not even red. It's not even red. Just check online. You see so many of them.
Now that you mentioned the eagle, the red
Okay,
eagle.
see.
supposed to be red.
What
see
does
that,
it?
see that.
Yeah.
The eagle symbolizes Nigeria's strength. If you
Okay.
go online, you see so many of them. Brown horses, yellow horses, and it's in the textbook of our children. It's there. So they're learning something contrary to what should be, and it's supposed to be consistent.
Oh, see the yellow horses. Is that gold horses?
Different
Maybe
kinds.
they
Yeah.
are gold.
Oh dear.
But it's interesting.
And then under the horses, unity and faith.
Peace and progress. Okay, that's on that one.
Progress.
That's on that one. I've done my research to the point that I know that what the coat of arms was given to Nigeria in error. Not this one that not this error we're talking about, not this red error. The coat of arms was given to Nigeria in error. In the fact that the flowers at the base of the coat of arms, when it was given to us as independence, had a yellow petal, inner petal, white outer petal, and a black dot. I know that because I wrote to the College of Arms in the UK, and they responded. And that depiction does not depict the Costa Spectabilis. Costa Spectabilis does not have white outer petals.
Okay, sorry.
Purely yellow.
Sorry, let me just, forgive me, but someone asked a question, wants to know the spelling of the word costus.
C-O-S-T-U-S. Spectabilis. S-P-E-C-T-A-B-I-L-I-S.
C-O-S-T-U-S. S-P-E-C-T-A-B-I-L-I-S. L-I-S. Yes. Costus Spectabilis. Okay, so you were saying that what we have, or what we had in
as independence was wrong. Then somewhere along the line, and that one came with unity and faith. We learned that, I learned that in school also, that peace and progress was added as an aftermath of the Civil War. Peace and progress. Now, I have searched online, and I have never seen any document that says that the coat of arms was amended, a decree, say a military period. I haven't seen one. So if we see this decree, we may be able to tell maybe the additions, the difference we see today came from there. I asked children to draw the coat of arms, secondary and primary school children to draw the coat of arms, which you see on my hand also. And then you see children drawing red and yellow flowers together in the same coat of arms. Some drew yellow, some drew red. But what amazes me also is the badge at the base where the inscription is written. When it was given to Nigeria, it was a white badge. Today, it's a yellow badge. And it has to be consistent. And let me say something. It is not an artwork. It is not just an artwork. It's a policy statement. The meanings determine where Nigeria heads towards. And we can talk about that maybe some other time. The eagle, the strength, and the whole thing, it means beyond what you see. It's a policy statement. And it guides Nigeria through where Nigeria should be going to. And I can tell you that this government is doing something about it.
Yeah, Joe, Wire says you should speak a bit slowly. They can't hear you.
Okay.
Yes. Now, let's look at the flag. We have green, we have white, and we have green. And I think each strip is the same width.
Yes, the same.
It's supposed to be the same width.
Same.
Okay. What does the green signify?
Cultural potential.
And the white?
Peace.
In the middle.
Peace.
Okay. So, a Greek, peace, a Greek.
That's what, yeah.
Right. Do you believe that that flag is still apt of the Nigeria of today?
The potential is there. Agricultural potential is there. It is being threatened. We're losing a lot of plants, yes. The peace, no. The peace, no. It's sad, but we can get it. We can get the peace.
Okay. First, Akimboewa says Nigeria's national symbols could be said to forge national unity, as can be seen in our football teams and athletics. Indeed.
There's more that unites us, Festus.
There's a lot more that unites us. There's a lot more that unites us than divides us.
Yes, indeed.
So, Emmanuel, what would you, you're going to talk to Nigerians, what would you be saying to them about the symbols?
She mentioned the flag, and also the flag has an issue. And the issue is that if you also look very well, you will find out that particularly governors, I've not seen the president do that. Particularly governors are putting the coat of arms, the wrong coat of arms with yellow horses usually, and sometimes white horses, inside the flag. And the Nigerian flag should not be amended, should not have anything added to it. Green, white, green only. There should be no coat of arms inside the Nigerian flag. And I'm hoping that with this Coastal Spectabilis project, it's beyond Coastal Spectabilis. The project is meant to draw attention to education, that we cannot teach children the wrong thing. When Yoruba people say, "Enya kura jale," a person who steals will lie. He will lie to cover up. And then eventually when you want to catch him, he could kill. It means that when you teach a young child something wrong, the consequences tomorrow will be grave. It could be something that we're looking at today and saying, how did we get here? We always ask that question, this is how we got here. Not paying attention to details. We lack maintenance culture. Those things look trivial, they look inconsequential, but they matter. They matter. One thing I told people that they will hear today when they watch me today is who made the Nigerian coat of arms.
Who?
Yeah. Online, you will see different things. You will see Akikumi, you will see one general, one reverend, but these are not the people who made the Nigerian coat of arms. Some Nigerians have been reaching out, like you asked me, are people listening? Yeah, some Nigerians have been listening to me, and they did some extra work I couldn't do. And I learned that it is Messrs. Beverly Peak Associates. That was a former name. But today they now bear Beverly Peak and Associates. It's an art and collection shop in the UK. And they made the coat of arms.
Thomas Emmanuel, you say you're a landscape planner?
Yeah, landscape planner.
I see some history there. You should be a historian. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us about our national symbols.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Especially
Thank you for
at this
having me.
time
Thank you very much,
of us celebrating our Diamond Jubilee as Nigeria. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Sunrise will return in just a moment with the home stretch, the part that my partner loves. See you in just a moment.
All right, there's this thing about when you dance. I love dance, but it's so fortunate that I can't dance for the life of me.
Oh dear.
But I love to watch. I love dance, and
I
these
love
young
to watch people dancing, especially the dance that Nigerians do now.
The coordinate when you see them in groups coordinated, it's just amazing.
It's beautiful.
Friend of mine
And then
told-
they do bese. Nobody, yeah. All that.
I know you like that one.
Oh, yes.
But you know, we've had dancers come on the show to talk about dance, the art of dancing, and I heard this. It's called the vocabulary of dance.
Oh.
So dance is a
Okay.
language.
It is a language.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, yes. So to celebrate Nigeria's 60th anniversary, Channels Television hosted a digital dance challenge to Dare's new track titled Jojo. And then we received
Jojo. Dance.
Okay, Jojo.
Jojo.
Jojo. A Jojo dance. Yes, Jojo. So we got impressive
Entries.
submissions and the winner of that challenge is James Opuz. It turns out I hear the guy has been dancing and has been winning all manner. James, how are you? We told you he was coming to us, right? Well, he's coming to us via
Via Skype.
maybe because he submitted his dance entry via Skype as well. Because he's not in Lagos. Hello, James.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
James, are you shy? You've been dancing all over the country. Suddenly you're covering your eyes.
I'm not shy.
Okay, James. So how was it like that dance? We saw the winning dance. It looks quite energetic, very strenuous. What gave you that idea? Because you moved from different locations and.
Why I did it like that was because since the competition, everybody wants to use a huge area, a huge settings, and the rest. So I decided to use a local area for that particular shot, taking the area, the Niger Delta area. Because Niger Delta was actually pretty mine, so I decided to use that kind of setting.
Okay, so how long did it take you to create the concept you used?
It took me just a day because I got the notification about the competition. I think on a Monday. On a Monday, I got the message on a Monday. Then on the Tuesday, I started thinking of how I want to put everything together. Then in the night, I got the whole concept put together, and the next day I had to shoot it and submit it.
So Monday you got the message, Tuesday conceptualization, Wednesday shoot and submission.
Yeah, Wednesday morning, time post. Yeah, that's what I did.
Well, James, please tell me exactly how an accountant now finds himself dancing.
Well, accountancy, for me, it's a good profession, but I don't think my purpose of life is in accountancy, though. I think dancing is my calling. Dancing is my calling, and I'm called to dance.
So why did you go and study accountancy?
You know how parents things is now. My dad said, "Oh, you must study accountancy. You must study accountancy." So I had to do it. I did it, and finally it came out well. But my passion, I have a lot of passion for dance, so I couldn't leave dance. Couldn't leave dancing at all.
Okay, so you started a dance group, Octopus Dance Zone. Did you start that while you were in school or after school?
Yeah, I started Octopus Dance Zone after school. That was in 2017. That was when I started Octopus Dance Zone. Yes, 2017. Started with teaching and dance education and the rest.
So how has business been for Octopus Dance Group? Dance Zone, rather.
It has been smooth, except for the coronavirus outbreak, which has spoiled everything for us. We are just at home thinking of what to do. How do we push forward? So came up with the idea of shooting more videos before we got to know about this JoJo Dance Challenge.
So who normally would require the services of Octopus Dance Zone?
Okay, Octopus Dance Zone, we perform in weddings, churches, we do gospel too. We do secular, and we also teach dances to schools, different events. We are versatile. We don't deal on just a dance style. We deal on hip hop, salsa, ballet, afro, and traditional dance.
Okay, so what's the plan? Now that you've won this competition, what's your plan for the future?
Yeah, I intend using it to... I intend using the prize money, maybe... I intend adding it to my own capital because I want to boost up Octopus Dance Zone. We need more facilities, more studio facilities, more costumes and the rest, so... to be a big plus for us.
I know we also heard that you've been winning almost every dance challenge online. You've won multiple dance challenges and all. Are you looking to get more in the kitty? Or you're going to be organizing your competitions yourself?
Sure, we'll be organizing our competitions for sure, but we have to get to a certain height first because the dance passion is there, and dance is also a business. So we intend using it as in winning first, then after winning some competitions, getting our plans ready and achieving some of our plans, then we can start up our own competitions.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, the prize money he's talking about is 500,000 naira. That's what he won for winning this competition. So, James, we wish you all the best. We wish Octopus Dance Zone all the best.
And you can also watch our videos on YouTube.
We're watching them right now.
Okay, that's good.
We're actually watching your videos right there.
The subscriptions is very important, please. Don't just watch, I need your subscriptions.
The what?
Subscription. All right, James, thank you very much. Well done.
All right.
Well done. James Opus is a dancer, winner of the JoJo Dance Challenge, organized by Channels Television. He won 500,000 naira. He says he wants to put that into Opus Dance Zone. Is it Optimus?
Yeah. Octopus.
Octopus Dance Zone. Well done, James.
Octopus Dance Zone.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay. So that wraps up James Opus wraps up Sunrise
I thought I was going to see you dance, stand up to.
in your dream. That wraps up Sunrise for today. James Opus closes the show for today. We'll bring you a fresh one next week. I'm Alera Edu, wishing you all the best. And as they say in my country, Happy New Month.
And I'm Nell Taigwe. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your day. And yes, Nigeria is 60 at Diamond in the Rough. It will take polishing, it will take cleaning up, and everyone has a role to play. Everyone. Where you find yourself, begin there. Let's make the best of you, make the best of your environment, protect it, make the best of your neighbor, protect and care for them, and let's make the best of our country.
Wear your mask.
Stay safe.
Sanitize your hands. And stay safe.
Wash hands. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.